Boulder, Colorado's most anticipated new residents. 5 gray wolves with lush fur arrived on a private plane from Oregon this week and within hours were lost in Rocky Mountain forests teeming with elk and other prey. Choose your plan. ArrowRight. How the lives of wolves will evolve will likely be the subject of political debate and scientific research for years to come. The newcomers are pioneers in a first-in-the-nation effort to reintroduce an endangered species into wild at the behest of voters rather than government. This comes 3 years after the narrow passage of ballot measure calling for wolves to return to a state where they were extirpated nearly a century ago. This was followed by protracted stakeholder negotiations, public hearings and objections from farmers and hunters, as well as unsuccessful last-minute lawsuits from the livestock industry to delay the eviction. But paws on the ground celebrations dominated this week as 2 males and 3 females raced across an icy field to their new habitat. Advocates hope these will be the beginning of a thriving population that could one day complete a life chain. Canis lupus from the northern Rocky Mountains to the southwest Colorado parks and wildlife released 5 gray wolves on public lands on deck 18 as part of the state's voter-supported reintroduction program. History was made in Colorado today, said Gov. Jared Polis, who was present when wolves were released in Grant County on Monday. For first time since the 1940s, howling of wolves will officially return to western Colorado. Western is the keyword and source of contention. The ballot measure, which would require state to begin reintroducing wolves by end of 2023, was heavily supported in urban areas east of Rocky Mountains but widely opposed on rural western slope, where release occurred. That opposition has grown in recent years as several wolves migrated from Wyoming, where a shoot-and-sight policy had long prevented significant numbers of animals from heading south, and settled in northern Colorado. Farmers there began reporting deaths of cattle, sheep and working dogs. Some of these wolves crossed the border and were eventually hunted. This has fed arguments from environmentalists that Colorado will need to introduce wolves if it hopes to have its own population. The state ultimately requested and received approval from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to manage the animals as a non-essential experimental population, allowing ranchers to kill wolves that attack livestock. The state also created a program to compensate livestock producers up to $15,000 per animal killed by wolves and said it would allocate staff and money minimize such conflicts. This isn't a choice between farming and wolves or hunting and wolves, said Matt Barnes, a rangeland scientist with the Northern Rockies Conservation Cooperative who was on an advisory group that made recommendations as the state drafted its plan. We'll continue to farm. We